Guys, it's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to talk about, is Lance McCullers Jr. back? Is he really back? And what we've seen in these last 2-3 starts from him is the way he's looked in the last probably 2 starts, but maybe you could say 3 starts. He is slowly getting back to the old guy we saw. I don't think we're gonna ever see him pitch as good as he was before he got injured in that 2022 season. Was pitching really well for this team, but I think we're seeing glimpses of what he was, at the end of that 2022 season, and is pitching really well. And I think you've seen in the last 3 starts, it's getting better and better for Lance each outing. And that tells you a lot if things continue to get better for him. Today, Lance had his best outing for the Astros in a win. The Astros are another thing I'll point out. Lance has not got that first win yet. Today was the first time Lance pitched 5 or more innings. That you have to do that to get a win. But even though Lance does not have a win yet in his last 3 outings that have been great, the Astros are still 3-0 in his last 4 innings. Now you look at what he did today. Pitched 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 5 hits. Only one. You look at this. Only 1 walk. Lance has had a real bad walk problem in his first 4 outings. In Lance's first 4 outings, Lance has given up a total of 10 walks. He's been averaging almost 3 walks per game, and today only gave up 1. On top of that, he had 12 strikeouts. Came into the day, in his first 4 starts, he had 14, and today had 12. So, unbelievable day for Lance. And also, 10 of those strikeouts were strikeouts that were, batters struck out swinging. Now, I will say, only 2 of those pitches, I would say that you look at the 10 strikeouts where the hitters are striking out swinging. I would say only about 1 or 2 of those strikeouts are pitches that are called strikes if the hitter doesn't swing. Now, but at the same time, in those 10 strikeouts where pitchers are striking out at not great pitches that are not close to the strike zone, some of those were also really good pitches. I think there were a couple of the pitches that they're really just terrible pitches by Lance and terrible swings by the hitters. But I would say there are probably 5 or 6 of the probably 6 of the strikeouts that Lance had off the swing and miss were probably great pitches, and there were probably 4 or 5 of those 10 strikeout swingings that were just bad pitches and not it wasn't something. It wasn't a strikeout because he had a great pitch. It was a strikeout because the hitter just embarrassed himself. But at the same time, you look at it that way, it's still 7 or 8 strikeouts for 7 or 8 great strikeouts for Lance in a total of 6 innings. And his first time, not only his first time pitching 6 innings since coming back from that injury, but pitching 5 innings for his first time back from injury. I think it's great that Lance, got into the 5th inning, got through the 5th inning for the first time this season for starters, yet alone going over the fact that he went 6 innings today. So that was a great step into progress for Lance. You look at the outing before. The outing before this wasn't amazing, but it was good. It wasn't nearly as good as what you saw today for Lance, but this was. I think I saw what he did last week against Seattle and said, okay, maybe he's getting to where he needs to get to, and if you can see a couple more good starts from him, we'll be good. Last outing on May 22nd, before today, against the Mariners, it was 4 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 2 earned runs. He did give up 3 walks, that was the bad thing, but 8 strikeouts. So that is 20 strikeouts now in the last 2 games for Lance, the last 2 starts. You look at the outing against the Rangers, 4 innings, gave up 2 runs. Neither were earned runs for Lance, and gave up 4 hits in that outing with 2 strikeouts. So Lance is, like I said, really has turned things around in his last at this point in his last 3 outings, only has 5 earned runs given up. Has given up 7, but 2 of those, there was like an error in that Rangers game by Jeremy Pena that really costed the Astros in that game. The Astros won that game, but still that really hurt Lance in that game. Because Lance probably would have been able to go 5 innings in that game if Pena doesn't have that error right there. But that was tough. But you look at, like I said, you look at the last 3 innings. Sorry, the last 3 outings for Lance, and it's at this point now it's a total of, I think, 14 2/3 of an inning, 14 2/3 of innings of work in his last 3 starts, only giving up 5 earned runs. It's an ERA of 3.17 for Lance in his last 3 starts. You look at the first 3 starts, the first 2 starts, that was 15.75. So Lance has really turned it around compared to his first 2 starts. His first 2 starts, Lance, in his first 2 starts against the White Sox, his return was 3 2/3. He didn't give up any earned runs, but here was the problem, I thought. His command was a huge issue. He gave up 3 walks against the White Sox offense, and just really had a really tough time with command in that game. Really did. He threw 87 pitches that game and threw only 51 strikes. Then we obviously know what happened against Cincinnati. It was so bad to the point where some idiots decided to threaten to kill his kids, and he gave it 7 earned runs in that first inning. So his first 4 innings of work through 2 games were really bad, really bad. Sure, there might have not been any earned runs in that first game, but I don't look at that first outing and look at that outing as a good outing for Lance with the command issue he had in that outing. And look, I even look at the game against the Rangers. There wasn't a great command either there. 83 pitches, 53 strikes. But you look at this game, I think there was a better command for Lance. I mean, 102 pitches, the most he's pitched by 11 pitches so far this year, 69 strikes. So that is much better than some of these other games for Lance. I think today we saw the best command from Lance than we've seen in any of his starts, and that is a great positive thing for Lance McCullers. Today this is the crazy thing. Today for Lance McCullers Jr. was this was the third in 5 starts. This was the third least amount of balls that he pitched, meaning balls and strikes. So he 69 strikes and 102 pitches. There was 33. So there's 33 balls and 69 strikes. His last start before this, 91 pitches. There were 39 balls. So he had 6 less balls pitched in this outing, even though his pitch count went up by 11. Against the Rangers, even though 83 pitches, threw 30 balls. Even though it was 1 inning of work, threw 19 against the Reds in that terrible game. In his first outing against the White Sox, threw 36. So a much better for Lance McCullers Jr. in this outing today against the Athletics of not throwing as many balls and throwing more strikes than he does balls. And I thought this was the best game for Lance so far of his 5 starts, where he is getting into the strike zone more. He's getting more swing and misses, and that was great for him today, I believe. And so we're seeing great progress. I look at his next start is most likely to be Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think that is another outing that should be a good outing for Lance. But at the same time, I'm going to be real. These are some teams that are not as hard as competition, for Lance. Like the A's, that's an easy team for Lance to dominate against. The Pirates, you could look at as potentially being an easier team for Lance to potentially have domination against. The Mariners as well, potentially, you could throw in there as well. With these last 2 starts, and then the start we're going to see, the Rangers as well. And the start we're going to see from Lance, against against the Pirates. The start I'll circle for Lance to tell that we can tell if Lance is really back. I think he's in a much better position now than he was in the beginning of this month, where it was a disaster, and the first inning he's in a much better position now, and is much more helpful to this team. But I think you look at him as a dangerous piece of this starting rotation, and a guy that is just as deadly next to Fromber and Hunter, is when the Astros play the Guardians. The Astros play the Guardians, I believe it is in Cleveland, and Lance is expected to start in that series. If he can do well on the road in Cleveland against the Guardians, and he does well against them, a good hitting team, where that'd be on the road for Lance. If he does well in that outing, I would look at Lance McCullers Jr. and say, yeah, he's really back and close to what he was before the injury. But you look at what he's done recently so far since coming back from you look outside the first two starts, it has been much better. Like I mentioned, 3.17 ERA in the last three starts, and that is great. But let's see if you can keep it up. Let me know your thoughts on Lance McCullers Jr.'s recent success in the comment section, and peace out. Go Astros.